How's it going, everybody? Andrew Zarian here, Wrestling Observer Live. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, Saturdays at 1 p.m. with Jim Valley, and Sundays, 6 p.m. East, with me. I'm here. It's Sunday. You know what? It was a quieter week for pro wrestling. I'm going to say this was probably the least chaotic week I have had since, I guess, May 28th, right? Was that when Double or Nothing was happening and everything kind of exploded in the world of professional wrestling? That was the beginning, right? This week, not so crazy, but, solid wrestling's happening. A lot of cool news. Nothing groundbreaking, but a lot of cool stuff happening. WWE announced a big match for Crown Jewel. A lot of people are excited about this. A lot of people find it to be a pointless match. Some people are very offended by this match. We're going to talk about that. Preview of AEW Grand Slam here in Queens, New York, and Flushing. My backyard, literally. I mean, I could hear Citi Field from my house on a great night. If the wind is blowing perfectly, if it's very quiet, it's a perfect day, I could hear Citi Field. That's how close it is. I'll be there. I'm excited for the show. AEW's also lifted a bunch of suspensions. We're going to talk about that. SmackDown Rampage as well. Of course, good friend of mine, Joel Pearl from Fightful Overbooked. He's going to be joining me for the next hour or so, a little under an hour. I love it when Joel is on. He's like the fourth wheel in this Mat Men universe of my podcasting. He's always a regular on my shows, and he's always a regular here, so I know a lot of people are excited for this. But, Grand Slam coming up, super psyched about this. Crown Jewel, AEW, lift the suspensions, and the big story here, and I really want to get everybody's opinion on this, including the chat room. If you're listening to this, tweet me, at Andrew Zarian on Twitter. If you're in the chat room, you're watching the video on F4W's YouTube, you could chat with us. I want to know, NBC Universal and Warner, Discovery Bros, Warner, whatever you want to call it, possible acquisition? I want to get Joel's opinion on this. That's a nutty story. A lot of changes in wrestling here. Wrestling Observer Live. When we get back, Joel Pearl on with us here on Sports Byline. Stay tuned.
when it's him in there, it's like, well, I don't have to be the one wrestling him, but it just opens my eyes to, like, you know what I mean, like new levels of talent. But there's been a lot of people sort of on our journey in the UK that have given us a lot of guidance. I learned a lot from people like Walt.
Wrestling Observer Live here on a Sunday with you, joined by Joel Pearl, Fightful Overbooked. What's going on, Joel?
Oh, how you doing, Andrew? Thanks for having me on today.
I know you were on the air, and I was like, I got to get in touch with Joel, right? This was all week. I'm like, I got to ask Joel because I knew that, this it's football Sunday, right? It's saturated everything. I was like, you know what? I don't know if Joel's a big football guy. I'm sure he's not doing anything. Let me ask him. Not that he has a family, he has a kid, nothing's going on in his life. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to ask him. This was Monday. I didn't ask you till I saw that you're doing a show this afternoon. So, of course, Joel is here. Happy that you're here. And I think a lot of these topics you could help me guide the show with. I think I want to start off with Roman Reigns and Logan Paul. Very hot topic here. A lot of people, there are people that think this is brilliant as far as, leaving the wrestling bubble for WWE. It's an interesting way for them to do a world title match, right? Because normally you would not see a celebrity in a world title match. You're never supposed to take this seriously, but Crown Jewel, it's a specialty event. The whole thing is to bring eyeballs to Saudi Arabia more than anything else. It has nothing to do with WWE. And they want to get this match off. Well, this is the way to do it. But do you have them have a competitive match, or do you have Roman just destroy him within seconds, Joel?
Oh, you have a competitive match. We've seen Logan Paul come out and have good matches. That surprised a lot of people. I think. Okay, so going back to the reactions, I've seen everything from upset, but not like super duper upset, to really excited because it's a different opponent for Roman Reigns. And I've also seen complete apathy because it's a Saudi show and not everyone's interested because the Saudi Arabia shows typically end up not being canon after a couple of weeks in WWE lore anyway. So I'm fine with this matchup. It's fresh, it's different. We know the outcome. That's not in question. But the match is going to be fun because you know what the best part of this whole thing is, Andrew? You've got Logan Paul, who's not always around. You've got Roman Reigns, who's not always around. And those two can meet up and put together a banger match that they can go to Saudi and put on, and people will enjoy it. So if you want just the entertainment factor, it's there.
Yeah, I think the Logan Paul stuff is very interesting. And this is a whole new world. Like, wrestling always has stayed in the wrestling bubble, historically. Even when they've done celebrity stuff, it's never really verged outside of there. I thought that press conference yesterday that they had was very interesting. You could tell Roman is just at the peak of his game right now. He cut a promo, or he was on the podium talking. Just fantastic, man. He's so good in the role. And I think Logan Paul is a very interesting... We're going to find out what his draw power here is, right? We're going to find out because we saw what he did with The Miz, and a lot of people were overly surprised, and I think that kind of helped with this. But you're going up against the world champion. This guy's fantastic. I think a lot of the argument for people is, you want to highlight the talent that you have in high-profile situations. This mega show that they put on in Saudi Arabia twice a year, should you be highlighting one of your homegrown talents opposed to putting a celebrity in that role? I think it depends on how you look at this.
It does. You make a lot of money, and it goes towards the talent. And the talent are going to split that money between Roman and Logan Paul.
Because that's WWE's approach here is, hey, listen, it's going to bring new eyeballs. Yep. We're on Peacock. A lot of people have that for free. Essentially, if you're a Logan Paul fan or a Jake Paul fan, you follow what they do, you will tune into this to see what they do. It really comes down to what's their reach, what's their actual real reach. Not their YouTube reach, not that stuff, but what is their actual reach today, not what they did in the past.
There's a third side to this that I love, and it's how seriously Logan Paul takes this. He can be like any, and Triple H said this at the press conference. He's seen a bunch of celebrities come in and out, and some of them do better than others. But Logan Paul earned Triple H's respect. That's what he said at the press conference. Logan Paul then goes in to that Canelo Triple G fight the other night, last night, and he's asked, "Hey, are you going to do this other fight?" And what does Logan Paul say? "I'm focused on my match with Roman Reigns in Riyadh on November 5th."
Yeah. Perfect,
Perfect,
right? Perfect.
perfect on message. Got people talking. He's more interested in doing the wrestling than he is doing the boxing.
Yeah, and I think, well, here's a good question, and I'm curious about this, right? Logan Paul has a younger demo, obviously. It's not me. I'm 38. Joel is like 49. He just looks so youthful, this guy. Yeah, oh, the Grays
Yeah.
are coming in, dude. The Grays are coming in. Look at that.
They've been coming in for a long
Are
time.
they more now with the baby? Now that the baby's here, it's way more, right?
Kind of think so, but I mean, the kid's not a big problem. Like, he's actually pretty easy. I don't know, whatever. I just got Grace. It's fine.
You know what though? The anxiety, Now I gotta worry about another person. I'm very curious if, he doesn't appeal to me. There's nothing about him that appeals to me. I really appreciated what he did in the ring. I thought he was awesome, but I don't follow his content. The people that are buying those pay-per-views, right, that are young, they've shown you that pay-per-view, the model still exists. Everybody said this younger generation won't buy these pay-per-views. They were not. I mean, the last couple were not so great for both of them. But will they watch him in WWE, and will they stick around? I think that's a nice test for them to see. It's a positive. I don't know what the answer there is. I don't know their exact audience, but I know that it's a key demo that they need for growth.
And you can say what you will about everything that's going on in Saudi Arabia, and many wrestling fans have made their feelings known about whether or not they'll watch
Sure.
the shows. But if you're looking for those new eyes and you're looking for some people to take a look, typically WWE doesn't exactly run saying we're going to Saudi Arabia. They just say WWE Crown Jewel, November 5th. And then later on, you either figure it out or you don't. And at that point, you've made your decision if you're going to watch for the entertainment or if you're not going to watch because you're either disinterested or the location turns you off.
We also got NXT last on Tuesday. It was the 1-year anniversary of NXT 2.0, and people expected some changes to happen, and it seems like we're getting it. It looks like they're going back to, I guess, golden. What is it? Black and white? Golden white?
Goldenrod?
Goldenrod. I mean, they're going back to the NXT, kind of the NXT that we liked. So the argument now is, should they change their setup? Should they change the look? A lot of people are very much against the Disney-fied purple and the blues, like my studio here. They don't like it. They needed a change for sure. I don't know if this was the change they needed. Should they stick with it or no?
The paint splatter was a turnoff because of the way it started and because of the way that they opened up the 2.0 brand. It's slowly turned around. I've had other conversations on other shows about this, and essentially, someone said rate HBK, rate Shawn Michaels on his first year as a head booker, and I said, well, no, the last month he's been much better than the last 11 months where
Sure.
It was absolute trash. And now the change, there's a balance that needs to be struck because there's a lot of good stuff that came from 2.0 in my opinion, a lot of character work that I think was sorely missing from NXT, and also little things, aesthetic things, turning on the lights, making it a little brighter. I never personally enjoyed Leather Daddy Skull and Crossbones NXT, and I'm excited for Poppy to make her inevitable return because
Poppy has to come back.
She has a single coming out this week, so she has to come back.
Oh, it has to be the single for the next and NXT takeovers are back. But okay, so it's so funny because I was like, I gotta dig because I remember specifically being told that NXT takeovers are not going away, and when the moment is right, they will bring it back. I guess under whatever circumstances this was the right moment.
It's just what they told you. It's like, we're going to tell you exactly when, but come on, when.
I always, that conversation stuck. There was so much more in that combo, and we got like a minute, so I'm gonna summarize it here. It was fascinating that when I was like, so what's the change? They're like, it's temporary. It's temporary. Shh. Don't shake this up too much. It's gonna go back to something people are gonna love. So we're gonna talk. Let me touch on that when we get back from break. Wrestling Observer Live Sunday edition. Here on Sports Byline, we'll be right back after this.
And Pete Dunne, as well as people like Zack Sabre Jr. And it's just through like wrestling them and traveling with them and stuff, that you get to, you know what I mean? Like you get like a deeper appreciation of how some people view wrestling, and it just,
Very well known that one of my favorite wrestlers of all time is Jushin Liger. I think I look at him and I think about how he's not tied to one certain promotion, not one certain championship. He's kind of gone and done it all, and I think that's why he's such like a superstar in the world of wrestling. And I think I've really tried to emulate that in my own career and want to emulate that in my own career. So that's someone I think I'd like to shout out.
What has the experience been like for you guys to get an opportunity to wrestle? You know, you guys done stuff on AEW Rampage, on AEW Dynamite. What has that been like for you guys?
It's been a great, first of all, learning experience. Like it's such a different environment to anywhere we've ever wrestled before. So I think we've learned a lot from being there. And then also it's the most people we've ever wrestled in front of, both, you know what I mean, like on a national, international stage. So it's, I think for us, getting that chance was we were so ready for it, you know what I mean? Like we were waiting so long for a chance like that, so we just went out there and we gave it everything. And I think the response from the fans really showed, and that's just made us even more hungry to get back there and do the same thing again. Like the amount of different people that you have to talk to backstage about what's happening on the show and your spot on the show and where you need to be for like different camera shots and where the cameras are, and like the amount of detail they went in with that sort of stuff. I just think it's the most detail to the production side of stuff that we've ever had to go through, I think.
Mark, how did you feel, you know, kind of being in that sort of environment?
I enjoyed it very, very much. It was very high stress for quite a big part of it. I guess the first day that we showed up, and can I say that it just came about with, I think around maybe like 4 days notice, I think we got to be like, we need you to roll up to AEW and beat up Trent. So it all happened very, very quickly. And even when we got there, things happened really quickly. The FTR match came about on the day. So we were all just like, it was all happening as we were there. And I think like being thrown into that like blender and it all happening so quickly, just kind of like, I don't know, just made us acclimated to it even quicker, because that first experience felt so like sort of tumultuous. But I enjoyed it. I loved it. I really, really had a lot of fun.
Wrestling Observer Live, Andrew Zarian here. Joel Pearl, Fightful. Overbooked.
I am glad that you hung on that. Thank you.
You know,
I do host a show on Fightful.
You do.
Host
You do.
a singular show.
You do have a show on Fightful, but I want to plug Overbooked. I enjoy you and Tim.
Thank you.
I did a super chat today. I was like, listen, I don't want that money going to Joel Pearl. I want it to go to Tim.
Please, he's got a kid too. He's got to take care of his baby. I call it the one show you should never find, every Sunday at noon Eastern on youtube.com/FightfulOverbooked. Myself and Tim. Tim's a casual fan. We take a lot of his opinion on what's going on in wrestling, and he's a storyteller. So for him, this is a lot about the production of wrestling and the storytelling of wrestling. So we really enjoy our time together. We're both local Toronto musicians who found each other through wrestling and our fandom.
Love it. And I think there's something to be said about the casual opinion. You know, we're kind of in a bubble here with things that we like. You know, like, I'll give you an example, something that nobody's going to talk about if you're a casual fan, but to us, it's a big deal. This Warner Brothers Discovery NBC Universal conversation. You know, listen, how realistic is this? This is so early in even a conversation. But, you know, the idea is being talked about internally for sure. And this is something that you always hear, right, in the TV world. This wouldn't happen before 2024, which changes everything, right? There are multiple contracts up at that time. AEW is attempting to get a new deal, something that's going to give them a little bit more, especially with streaming rights and things like that. WWE, there is a possibility that Peacock, NBC Universal may purchase WWE or whatever the trade, whatever you want to do, merge or purchase or whatever you want to call it. But now the conversation is Peacock, Warner Brothers, Discovery. You know, is this something that regulators would even want to go near? Are we consolidating media? This is never a positive for content creation, right? When you have these mergers, we're already seeing what's happening at Discovery, Warner Brothers. We're already seeing stuff that was, you know, already millions of dollars put into it. See, the New York comes out there. You heard what I just did? I did dollars. Dollars. I try so hard, Joel. You have no idea. This is me attempting to speak like a normal person. But
I'm a Canadian. I get it.
You get it. You know what? But yours is so much more elegant. Mine just sounds like I chew on gravel when mine comes out. It's just me screaming. How many dollars? I don't necessarily think this is a positive whatsoever if it does happen. I don't know how realistic it is, but it is an interesting conversation to have. What do you think happens to AEW? Forget about WWE, because obviously if there is this sort of merger, right? WWE will always be safe. They're a 40-year institution on NBC, whatever the time frame is. That I don't see them going anywhere or getting canceled. The worst case I see them is getting more money with their TV rights deal. The best case is maybe them getting purchased by NBC. Where do you fall on this? What's your opinion?
I see Cody Rhodes just slapping his hands together and be like, "Oh, I got this. I know exactly what to do." But in reality, I don't see it happening. But also, I'm a Canadian, so I don't know how antitrust law works in this case, or FCC law, whatever it's going to be, that would prohibit this kind of merger. From my understanding, there are a lot of factors at play that would prohibit this kind of deal. That being said, do I think that wrestling would be negatively affected? I don't think one over the other, because wrestling is such a cheap commodity to produce. If anything, it's just going to keep the same numbers up. Like, they're still going to want more wrestling content. So why not? If you merge, why not just have both companies operate?
I don't know. There's so many moving parts. Listen, if this were to happen, right? If this were to happen, I would say this would be a terrible thing for AEW. Right? I mean, that's how I would go in this. Generally, mergers, NBC is a very powerful company. Most likely they would have their people running things. I don't see it ending well for them. But, everything is possible. Things change all the time. Mergers could be stopped. We've seen this happen in the past. But I don't know. I think this is a fascinating conversation that happened. Obviously, we know that it's just interest. Operation costs for digital properties is astronomical. Operation costs for TV is astronomical. If you could cut that back significantly, it's a positive. We've seen them hemorrhage money with Peacock. We've seen the success of HBO for Warner Media. I think this is a fascinating move. But listen, the consumer, do I want this as a consumer? I mean, if I'm the consumer, I'm going to care. I probably would, because I want to pay for one service. I don't want to pay 5 different services. But if you're a content creator, if you are somebody on one of these channels, you should be worried with a merger like this, if it is even something.
Where else could AEW go? Realistically speaking.
Well,
where else could they go outside of the Warner family?
If not Fox, right? You could go to Viacom. I know that they were looking at HBO, Showtime. That was an actual, that was a possibility for them, a real possibility. But I don't think it was going to be a weekly show. I think that was supposed to be a monthly show. Can you imagine like an HBO monthly wrestling show that's AEW? You know what? I kind of want to see that now. Put them on HBO. You could. I think that might be fun. That might be something different. So I think this is all very early. I have not heard anything from anybody at NBC that I speak to. You know, everybody's heard the same exact thing. This was an internal. I would say this probably started off with a handful of people. This possibility, and it kind of spread. And once wrestling media picked it up, it kind of went rolling. Very interesting stuff. You know what else is interesting, Joel? What's this White Rabbit music they're playing?
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby, is he back? Is sweet baby,
I feel like we're getting
baby
there.
Bray back?
I think we're getting there. I think
So,
we're one step closer.
A lot of people were saying this is Karrion Kross, right? They were saying, well, there's a connection there with Karrion Kross. I don't think so. The fact that they did this during a commercial, and who pushed it out first? Who was the person that?
From my understanding, it was Ryan Satin.
Ryan
who was
Satin.
WWE and Fox.
Yes. Ryan Satin put this out first. I know what you mean. And then they played it again at a house show. Listen, you know, Bray Wyatt coming back. They spent a lot of money in developing that character. He made the company a lot of money. He's obviously something that people are interested in. I could tell you my children very much were fascinated by that character. I know a lot of my friends' kids are fascinated by that character. You know, you're trying to build a new, you know, a younger audience, a younger demo. Things are kind of hot for you when it comes to WWE. Don't worry. By the way, we're going to talk about AEW. I have a lot to talk about AEW. I'm psyched for next week. But where does Bray fit in 2022, 2023 WWE?
He's got to find a way. I mean, he's the one magical, and I use that term loosely, character that you bring in, the spooky, ghosty type of character that you bring in. He's the only one that could have it work on the roster. It's not Karrion Kross. He's just got to find whatever works for that character on TV.
Yeah, I always thought it would have been very difficult for him to go anywhere other than WWE, right? Because of how much money they were paying him. He was in that top 5. You know, we're not talking, you know, pennies. We're talking millions of dollars. The fact that you're paying this guy millions of dollars. Him and you know who else? Great example. Kind of in the same boat. And we saw him return. Braun Strowman. Braun was paid a lot of money. And for whatever reason, Vince had a problem. For whatever reason, Vince had a problem with Bray. We've heard the rumors. His weight was a problem for him, which, I mean, I don't understand that whatsoever. The guy's performance in the ring generally is solid work. So I don't understand why they would, you know, I the whole Bray release was interesting. I think there was obviously a lot to this. It was not budget cuts. It was way more than that. But I would be willing to bet that, you know, if there was a moment to bring Bray, you gotta shoot on that right now.
Yeah, this is
the
the
momentum
time.
is hot. The momentum is really hot.
Yeah, there's a big opportunity to have Bray show up. There's a big opportunity to pick up where you left off with Bray and even tell a story of where he went when he was gone, as long as we stay away from just over the top, meandering Bray Wyatt. Yeah. Hey, man, I'm just here to tell a story. I want a Bray Wyatt that's a little more succinct, that's a little more badass, and the Fiend can just be that over the top, badass character wrestler. But I want Bray Wyatt.
See, I want the spooky stuff. I like the spooky stuff. You need an Undertaker like. Listen, I know he signed that deal with Freddie Prinze Jr. I don't know what that project is. It's not a thing that's active. So, you know, you could be bought out of a contract. You don't know how much he signed for. I mean, I don't think Bray's going to sign an exclusive with Freddie Prinze Jr. unless Freddie's paying him, you know, $6-7 million a year. I'd love to have Freddie Prinze Jr. on the show. My wife's a big fan of his. I think all of us from the 90s are.
I think so. I might be a big Freddie Prinze fan.
Who is
Freddie
it?
Prinze Jr.
Who is it? Freddie Prinze Jr. Yeah, his dad was great on those roasts that they used to do. So very interesting stuff. I don't know. I think Bray would be a great addition. Maybe Bray does a stable. Bray and Karrion. Man, I'm into that. They could do their magic stuff. They could do their spooky stuff. Lightning bolts. I want more lightning bolts in wrestling. Just everybody needs lightning bolts. Wrestling Observer Live. When we get back, AEW. I want to talk about Grand Slam here on Sports Byline. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
another commercial break. This time we are going to be doing Extreme Rules trivia. Here is part 1. Question number 1. How many Extreme Rules pay-per-views have there been, including the upcoming 2022 event? A, 10, B, 12, C, 14.
Live Sunday edition. My homie, Joel Pearl.
Hey.
Brandon, we were talking about Denise, one of my favorite people in all of media, to be honest. She gets a lot of comments, but I'm going to tell you something. One of the most genuinely great human beings I know in this business. I've
Wonderful
had some
human.
Very long conversations with her, and it's amazing to see how well she's doing. AEW Grand Slam in my backyard, Queens, New York, and Flushing. This is I had such FOMO from missing out of All Out. I really get fear of missing out really bad whenever there's a big event. Oh, everybody was out there. Obviously, my hip is still not great, and I didn't want to do the trip. But, I kind of don't feel it now that I'm getting this show. AEW Dynamite from Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York, right next to Citi Field, Flushing Meadow Park. Look at this lineup. Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio versus Chris Jericho. AEW All-Atlantic Champion Pac versus Orange Cassidy. You got an AEW World Tag Championship, Swerve in Our Glory versus The Acclaimed. That building is going to explode. That roof is very soft, okay? It's a cloth roof. There's going to be a hole in that roof from people losing their minds for The Acclaimed. Interim AEW Women's Championship, Toni Storm, Britt Baker, Serena Deeb, and Athena. And the AEW World Championship match the tournament culminates at AEW Grand Slam, and you're going to get Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. Also, Rampage looks unbelievable as well. We'll talk about Rampage there. I want to get your opinion on this, Joel. They're not going to have 20,000 people in that building. I think you're going to have closer to 13. They're putting a stage, it seems like, this year, as far as I could tell in the mapping. 13,000 people is not a bad number. This looks like it's a mega show. What are you looking forward to?
Looking forward to a lot of it. I was at Grand Slam last year in New York, made the trip, and
we hung out.
Yep, we got to go out and have a couple of drinks and just enjoy ourselves while we didn't talk wrestling, and then we did a little bit, but that's just what we do. I'm excited for the show. I mean, listen, you've got a wonderful presumed main event with Moxley and Danielson. That's going to be a banger. You've got a huge moment with the World Tag Team Championships, potentially. I have my gripes about the Ring of Honor World Championship match, but we can always talk about that later. And even, again, Rampage looks great. It's going to be a lot about how they structure the night, because last year when we were there, the show went from like 7 p.m. Eastern until midnight. And I don't know about you, but I was exhausted when I left, and I got a real lucky ride back from a friend instead of taking public transit. That was a whole other can of worms.
You know what I did? I left at like 9:15. I had a big meeting that next day that I did nothing for. And I had like a panic attack in the middle. You were there. And I was like, I got to go home, guys. I'll see you later. I was home. Denise was on the air. So this has to be like 10 o'clock, right? She went on after. And I was like, hey, you want a scoop? And I think I told her something about I was like, hey, the TBS, they're going to do something called the TBS title. It took me like 10 minutes to get home, which was perfect. But I don't plan on being there till midnight. I don't plan on having to deal with the Long Island Railroad. I don't plan on dealing with the parking lot. I'm going to give you guys the best piece of advice I could ever give anybody, okay? This is coming from someone that has experienced that area. This is someone that dealt with the comments, hours and hours of the show. People were stranded. They didn't understand where they were going, how they were going there. Do yourself a favor. Plan all your travel. Don't expect to walk out of that building. There's nothing around it. Okay, there's no food around. There's no restaurants around. You gotta get out of that area. It's landlocked in litigation and politics. That entire section. There's nothing around there. So if you're leaving at like 12 o'clock in the morning, don't expect downtown Flushing to have a lot going on. Don't expect much to happen. You're not in Manhattan, so plan ahead. if you're going, I know there was a little bit of a culture shock also for the hotels. A lot of people flew in for that show and they stayed in Flushing and they didn't understand. Listen, Flushing is our Chinatown in Queens. Okay, it's very diverse. It's very different. You're not in Manhattan. You'll get some great dumpling spots. You want some great Korean chicken? You got it over there. You want some great sushi? You got it over there. You want some great Greek food? You got it. But you gotta plan ahead. Don't think 11 o'clock things are open. Also, if you want to have a good time, if you want to hang out somewhere quiet, nice, go to Bayside first. Take the train from Bayside to Arthur Ashe, 6 minutes, and you'll feel so much better. And leave your car in Bayside. I'm telling you, I'm saving your life here. I'm saving aggravation. And that's my PSA. I had to do it. Everybody's like, give you your PSA. Listen, man, I think this is awesome. I think it's a very unique show. I think it's really cool that they put this show on in a building that has no other events other than tennis. Ever. Historically. AEW was the first one that is not associated with the Tennis Association, with the USTA to run in that building. Very cool stuff. But let's end the show a little earlier.
Yeah. There are ways to do it too. There are ways to do it. Yeah, don't do an elevation taping. Instead, I've seen a lot of people pitch the idea of taping the first hour of Rampage, an hour before you go live for Dynamite, and then do the second hour of Rampage, which with whatever matches you have, you just structure it well. Go into your second hour of Rampage, tape it there. You're done by 11 p.m. Eastern, 11:30, let's say. You don't need to tape the two shows one after the other. The wait is so long between Dynamite and Rampage. Like it's 25, 30 minutes there's not a lot going on.
Yeah. So on Rampage, you're going to have Samoa Joe and Wardlow versus Tony Nese and Josh Woods. Hook and Action Bronson, Flushing Zone. Who are they facing?
2.0. Matt
2.0,
Menard
there you
and
go. Yeah.
Angelo Parker.
Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. No DQ match, Sting, Darby Allin versus Buddy Matthews and Brody King. Jungle Boy versus Ray Phoenix. Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. Eddie Kingston, Sammy Guevara, TBS champion Jade Cargill and Diamante. And the Golden Ticket Battle Royal for a shot against the AEW World Champion, Hangman Page, Penta, Jay Lethal, Lance Archer announced so far. So you have him win this. We know MJF has the chip. So now you have two people lined up for title shots later down the line. You're going to have, I'm very curious what they do with Moxley and Danielson, because I want to see Danielson win. I want Danielson to get the title. I know a lot of people think it should be Moxley. It will be Moxley. I think it should be Danielson. What do you think?
I think Danielson wins. And talking about next in line, now MJF had put in his promo that he's got a poker chip that he can cash in at any time for a world title shot.
But is it like the Money in the Bank?
There's no one has set that in stone. It's never been set in stone. Everyone has originally, they've all just like set their shot. Tony called the shot, whatever it is. I think MJF is going to say, my contract allowed me to call my shot whenever I wanted, no questions asked. And yeah, it's similar to Money in the Bank. But guess what? There are a lot of things in wrestling that are similar to each other when you go, promotion to promotion.
Yeah,
so
I just don't know the rules. Have they set what the rules are?
No, there are no rules in this case. At least as far as I've seen, nothing. And you have MJF come out.
I'm psyched for that. I really am, and I will stay till the end because I want to see that main event. I'm a big Danielson fan. I think anybody that knows the type of wrestling I'm into is that kind of style, right? I'm not as much of a high flyer.
Event, though? Sorry, is that the main event?
Oh, are you saying, what should it be? What's your other option? Jericho and Claudio?
No, the World Tag Team Championships. That's the moment. Do you make the acclaim in their hometown?
Man, I don't know. You know what?
That's a big feel-good moment.
That is a great feel-good moment for them. And I know everybody there is going to be psyched for them. And we saw the changeover at the last pay-per-view. We got, this is, every match looks great here, right? But, the big three are Claudio. And then Claudio and Jericho. Ring of Honor, I don't know what they're doing right now with this. I don't think anybody does. I think Tony's attempting to do something really cool with it, and he's not. Somebody mentioned to me that, if Tony wanted a bad deal, he could have gotten it for them, for Ring of Honor. And this was said in passing like a month and a half ago to me. And I believe that. I think if Tony wanted to get them on TV or get them any kind of positioning, he could have just done a bad deal or something that he doesn't really necessarily think is a great deal to get it on TV. But, if you have Claudio and Jericho in this. Now Chris Jericho wins the Ring of Honor title. You've added something more to this, a little something more. I think Chris Jericho right now is in a renaissance period in his career. He's had some tremendous matches. He's really stepped up. A lot of that anti-Chris Jericho stuff when he was a little heavier and a lot of people thought he was there for the money and he wasn't really putting in the effort. I think a lot of that is dissipated when they saw how much he cares about this company and how much he stepped up to help. I don't think people give him enough credit for that. However, should he be Claudio?
No.
You say no. I say yes. I say do it. Do it. Do it.
I get it. I have a gripe with how we got to this, and I know
Me
people
too.
in the chat are going to say,
Agree with you.
Ring of Honor World Championship is an open contract. Anyone can take it. Well, Chris Jericho just lost a string of matches for a world championship shot. Like, he just lost a match for a world championship.
Listen,
Why
none of that
are
is
you
canon.
devaluing?
None of that is canon. It's alternate
Yeah,
universe
this-
planning. None
yes,
of that is
Ring of
canon
Honor,
because this
yeah.
wasn't supposed to happen.
Right. But at the same time, there's a larger story going on with Daniel Garcia, the BCC, and Chris Jericho. Now, there's an opportunity here to have Daniel Garcia come out during the match. Let's say Jericho is trying to sully the honor of Ring of Honor and the championship. And you have Daniel Garcia come out and be like, no, that's not how you win a world championship, especially the Ring of Honor title. Claudio
Interesting.
wins, and then Claudio shakes Danny Garcia's hand. And that's two members of BCC that have shaken Danny Garcia's hand. And this time, it's a guy who's also holding a Ring of Honor championship that's
Yeah.
akin to the one he's holding.
I'm into that. I'm into that, dude. Like, listen, man, it's gonna be a great show. I want to see all these guys have great matches. I'm into this. But I'm a happy fan. I'm a happy wrestling guy. Like, I see the bad guys. I see it all. You know, like, don't take my happiness and things that I look forward to as, you know, I'm fanboying over something. I like the wrestling I like. I don't care what company it's in. And I'm going to talk positively regardless of what company it is. WWE does some great stuff. I think the last couple of months they have really realigned to garner viewership again. I watch Monday Night Raw way more frequently live than I did ever. I mean, I shouldn't say ever. I would say the last 4 years. I think it was abysmal. I think WWE was in a terrible shape considering the fact that they promised so much post-pandemic. Joel, like every conversation was, Andrew, wait till you see what we do. Wait till you see who's coming back. You know what? They did it all. All the stuff on paper that I was saying. You know, I think I put out a tweet a year and a half ago. I was like, WWE has some great stuff on paper or something like that. I forgot what it was. You know what? It was cool stuff on paper. Brock Lesnar came back. Becky Lynch came back. Title swap. You know, John Cena came back. They did that bizarre thing with The Rock at Survivor Series. It was Survivor Series, yeah. The egg, the ridiculous egg. So, you know, on paper, I'm sure they thought it was brilliant. Execution wise, it was terrible. You can't replace The Rock with an egg.
Moments. That's all it was. It was
Just
always
moments.
Vince McMahon booking for the moments.
Yeah, so very interesting stuff here. You know, we're again, I say this all the time. This is a hot period for pro wrestling. I really hope AEW does well with the ratings here. They've had 2 very consistent weeks, 3 very good consistent weeks, right? 3 weeks in a row right now? Over 1 million?
I think we might be at 4 weeks. I'm not 100% sure.
If we're at 4, you know what the trend is, right? 6 weeks starts the trend. 8 weeks solidifies the trend. After that, you got to keep the momentum going. Same thing in radio, same thing in TV, same thing in business. Week to week doesn't matter. It's a 6-week trend. Wrestling Observer Live coming back with the final segment here on Sports Byline. Stay tuned.
Hey there, everyone. It's Denise Salcedo. I'm back with another commercial break. This time we are going to be doing Extreme Rules trivia. Here is part 1. Question number 1. How many Extreme Rules pay-per-views have there been, including the upcoming 2022 event? A, 10, B, 12, C, 14. The answer is 14. Question number 2. Which state has held the most Extreme Rules pay-per-views? A, Pennsylvania, B, New Jersey, C, Florida, D, Louisiana. The correct answer is A, Pennsylvania. Question number 3. What year was Extreme Rules held exclusively for the Raw brand? A, 2013, B, 2015, C, 2017, D, 2018. The correct answer is 2017. Question number 4. Who did CM Punk defeat at Extreme Rules 2009? A, Umaga, B, Jeff Hardy, C, all of the above, D, none of the above. The correct answer is all of the above. CM Punk defeated Umaga earlier in the night in a Samoan strap match, and then he cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase on Jeff Hardy. Question number 5. True or false? The title of Miss WrestleMania was on the line at Extreme Rules 2009. The answer is true. It was Santino Marella wrestling as Santina Marella versus Chavo Guerrero and Vicky in a handicap hog pen match for the title of Miss WrestleMania, in which Santina Marella won. That's a wrap for part 1 of Extreme Rules Trivia. I'll be back with a round 2.
Wrestling Observer Live, final segment here on the show. Joel Pearl from Fightful. Overbooked. You know, I actually have a great Fightful story. I was not a good brother to Sean Ross Sapp last night. So Sean put out a tweet about a big scoop he has, right? It was a Fightful Select article. By the way, I don't work with Fightful. I have a very good relationship with many people in wrestling, Joel being one of that and Sean being one of those. When I started, tweeting about stuff that I knew and everybody was like, this guy doesn't know anything. Who is he? Sean was the first person to come out and say, no, Andrew knows people and Andrew knows what he's talking about. So, you know what, Sean? Thank you for lying. I genuinely appreciate that. But I got a great, he puts out this thing where he's like, hey, I got a big story about the AEW Revolution location. I, for whatever reason, thought that he had posted this hours prior. And I go, moo. Somebody on Twitter responds and goes, oh, way to take the thunder away from his Fightful Select. And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? But it turns out it's at the Cow Palace. That's what Sean is saying. So I'm so sorry, Joel. I took some money away from you guys. I took about,
can't believe it.
Yeah, the 18 people that saw it. So I think I owe, Scoop Zarian strikes again with ruining somebody else's scoop. I was like, you know what, Sean? I'll do another membership. I'm a Fightful Select member. I'm like, I'll do another one. Don't worry. A lot of people thought that there was beef between us over that. Never. He's a good boy. John's a good boy.
Just want to point out that you're the one who said moo and then talked about having a beef between you and Sean Ross Sapp.
There you go. See?
Hello.
I could do things. Sometimes things are moving in here. Sometimes. Not at 7 o'clock, though, on the East Coast. That's when everything falls apart. Guys, I had a great time doing the show with you guys. But do me a favor. Follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. You can follow Joel. Where can people follow you?
I'm at Joel Pearl, JoelPearl, everywhere you want. And Fightful Overbooked, youtube.com/Fightful Overbooked.
Also, WrestlingObserver.com and F4WOnline.com. Find out everything we're doing. All on there. Tons of podcasts, tons of video shows, and of course, tons of articles. And that's it. We're done. We'll see you all next week on Wrestling Observer Live. See you later.